In the early 1930s, America was falling apart. Banks were collapsing, businesses were shutting down, families were being evicted from their homes. Entire towns had no jobs, no food, no future. People stood in bread lines for hours just to get a bowl of soup. Parents skipped meals so their children could eat. Children dropped out of school to try and find work. Millions had nothing, no income, no savings, no safety net. It felt like the entire American experiment was on the edge of collapse. Then, in 1933, a new president stepped into office. His name was Franklin Delano Roosevelt, and he came with a bold idea to fight back against despair and rebuild the country piece by piece. This idea was called the New Deal, and it would change America forever. The crisis that nearly broke the nation. To understand the New Deal, you have to first understand just how bad things had become. The Great Depression began in 1929 after the stock market crashed. What followed was a chain reaction. Businesses failed, farmers lost their land, people rushed to withdraw money from banks, and thus the banks ran out of money to give. By the time Franklin D. Roosevelt became president in 1933, about 25% of the American workforce was unemployed. That's around 13 million people without jobs. The economy was close to total breakdown. Banks were closing every day. People lost their entire life savings overnight. There was no federal insurance to protect their money. If your bank failed, your money was simply gone. The government had never dealt with a crisis like this before. Many people felt completely abandoned. They didn't trust banks, they didn't trust business leaders, and they weren't sure if they could trust the government either. That was the situation when Roosevelt took office, and he knew that swift action was needed. Emergency action to stop the bleeding. One of Roosevelt's first acts as president was to address the banking crisis. In March 1933, he pushed through the Emergency Banking Act. This law gave the government power to inspect and regulate banks. All banks were temporarily closed for what was called a bank holiday. Inspectors were sent to review their books and finances. Only the banks that were financially stable were allowed to reopen. This move was bold, but it worked. Within days, people started to trust their banks again. Instead of pulling their money out, they began to redeposit it. This restored public confidence at a crucial moment. The country had been spiraling deeper into panic. The Emergency Banking Act helped stop that panic and was the first real sign that the government was stepping in to take control and protect ordinary Americans. It also marked the beginning of a new era, one where the government would play a much more active role in the economy. Jobs for the homeless. After stabilizing the banks, Roosevelt took to the heart of the problem, and that was mass unemployment. Millions of Americans wanted to work but couldn't find jobs. Roosevelt believed the solution wasn't just charity. It was creating jobs that gave people purpose and helped the country recover at the same time. Civilian Conservation Corps, CCC. One of the earliest and most loved programs of the New Deal was the Civilian Conservation Corps, better known as the CCC. It was launched in 1933 during some of the hardest years of the Great Depression. The program was designed specifically to help young, unmarried men who couldn't find work. Many of them were living in extreme poverty and had no way to support themselves or their families. The CCC offered a lifeline. These young men were given jobs doing outdoor work that helped improve the environment and protect natural resources. They planted over 3 billion trees, fought forest fires, built trails, and restored national and state parks. Their work helped prevent soil erosion, built flood control systems, and laid the foundation for the modern conservation movement. The men lived in camps, usually in rural or remote areas, where they were housed, clothed, and fed. In return for their labor, they earned $30 a month, which was somewhat decent wages at that time. But here's what made the program unique. $25 of that pay was automatically sent home to their families. This helped not just the workers, but also the people who depended on them. By the time the program ended in 1942, more than 2.5 million young men had passed through the CCC. For many men, it was their first steady job and their first time away from home. The CCC gave young people a sense of pride, purpose, and discipline. It also left a lasting impact on the American landscape. Many of the trails, park buildings, and forests we enjoy today were created by CCC workers. Works Progress Administration, WPA. While the CCC focused on young men and the environment, the Works Progress Administration, known in short as the WPA, was designed to help a broader group of Americans. It became the largest and most far-reaching program of the New Deal. Launched in 1935, the WPA provided jobs to over 8.5 million people. These workers were involved in major public construction projects all across the country. They built roads, bridges, schools, libraries, post office, and even airports. By the end of the program, WPA workers had paved more than 650,000 miles of roads, built 75,000 bridges, and constructed around 125,000 public buildings. But the WPA didn't just hire builders, it also created opportunities for people in the arts. Through programs like the Federal Art Project, the Federal Writers Project, and Federal Theater Project, thousands of artists, musicians, writers, and actors were hired to create and share their work. They painted murals in public buildings, documented oral histories, performed plays, and captured everyday life during the Depression. The WPA gave hope to millions. It showed that meaningful work could be found for anyone, whether they were skilled with a hammer or a paintbrush. A nation transformed by numbers. The New Deal produced results that could be seen everywhere. Unemployment, which had reached 25%, fell to 15% within a few years. That's still high, but it showed clear progress. People were earning paychecks again. They could buy food, pay rent, and start rebuilding their lives. Public infrastructure expanded at a speed never seen before. Entire communities gained access to roads, electricity, schools, and clean water, things they had never had before. In a very real way, the New Deal rebuilt the physical foundation of the country while helping its people survive day to day. The social safety net is born. President Roosevelt understood that emergency programs were only part of the solution. He wanted to make long-term changes so that future generations would never have to face the same kind of suffering. That meant building what we call a social safety net. In 1935, the government passed the Social Security Act. This created a national retirement system to provide income for older Americans. It also established unemployment insurance for people who lost their jobs and couldn't find work right away. The New Deal also introduced minimum wage laws, laws to protect workers' rights, and restrictions on child labor. These reforms reshaped the relationship between the government and the people. For the first time, the government took real responsibility for protecting workers and families, not just during emergencies, but all the time. A legacy that lives on. Perhaps the most important effect of the New Deal wasn't physical or financial, it was emotional. The Depression had left Americans feeling broken and forgotten. People were angry, scared, and unsure of what came next. The New Deal changed that. It didn't fix everything, but it showed people that they weren't alone, that the government was paying attention, that help was on the way, not someday, but now. For the first time in a long time, people began to believe in the future again. Work brought back dignity. Programs brought back structure. Leadership brought back hope. The Great Depression didn't end overnight. It took many years, and World War II would also play a role in bringing the economy back to full strength. But the changes made by the New Deal didn't disappear. Today, we still rely on the FDIC, which ensures bank deposits. We still benefit from Social Security, minimum wage laws, and worker protections. The bridges we cross, the roads we drive, and the schools we attend, many of them were first built by the WPA. Next time you pass a public library or hear about Social Security, remember that they emerged from hardship, designed to offer dignity and hope. If this story moved you, like and subscribe for more turning points that shaped America. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next video.